to our meeting, the CDBG Citizens Advisory Committee. I'd like to do a roll call, and with that, we'll start down here with Ginger.
Ginger Cutting here.
Jim Howell.
Janie Evans.
Marion Suttles.
Debbie Savoini.
John Paris.
And we are short one board member, which is Deborah Miller. She is working. So with that, Michael, let's start with your discussion and action items.
So first up, Madam Chair, is the approval of the minutes for April 17th.
So with that being said, has everybody read their minutes? And do you have any corrections? It's pretty straightforward, pretty general. Any corrections on those minutes from April 17th?
Move to approve.
Second.
Name second.
Ginger Cutting second.
And with the motion and second, all those in favor, aye. Raise your hand. All right. There's your minutes.
Okay. All right, IT, if you could bring up the PowerPoint, please. Still not clicking through. There we go. All right, Michael McInnes, Community Development, your CDBG coordinator. Our agenda for today is as shown. We just approved the minutes. We're going to have a discussion and an action item today on our new CDBG allocation, adjustments to the, I think, the March 20th CAC meeting and what was recommended at that meeting. I'm going to do a discussion on, or a presentation, short presentation on the annual action plan draft, which you should have all received a copy of via email, and it is within your agenda packet as well, and then staff announcements at the conclusion of these agenda items. So let's go into our first one. We finally got it, or we finally received, or were allocated, or estimated allocation to City of Prescott from HUD, which is $269,584. That is, substantially for us, for CDBG here and for the City of Prescott, higher than what we've been getting the last few years, which is great news. It was a late posting due to the congressional appropriations process. That's why we got it so late. Usually we get this estimate, in February timeframe. So because of the delay, everything's kind of has been pushed forward by a couple months, maybe at the most. So looking at this 269,584, it is an estimate that HUD's given us. We don't know the actual until I believe September, October timeframe is when they give us our actual number. But this is the number we base our recommendations on. And last year the estimate that we received in the spring matched exactly what HUD ended up allocating to us in the fall. I think in the past, maybe there's been a difference. Not much, 1,000 or so, but nothing. This is pretty much the number, which is great. It changes some of our numbers when we look at the subrecipients or applicants, which we recommended funding. Reminder that public service, we have a cap level of 15%. Our new public service amount that we can award funding is now $40,437.60. Administrative cap, no more than 20%, this is what pays my salary, is $53,916.80. That leaves the remainder going towards infrastructure or construction at the $175,229.60. Any questions about this?
Madam Chair, I have a question. So if you do run short, if it's not fully paid when you receive that, where does that shortfall come from?
So the question is, if we don't, say we get 268,000, we would allocate it appropriately. You know, it would mean that we would deduct it from everybody, that amount. So just across the board. And if that were the case, I'd still bring it to committee to let everybody know this is the actual number we got, but that would be the appropriate way to use it, to adjust it. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. This slide here was the breakdown of the March 20th CAC meeting allocations. You have the construction projects are the first 4, and then we had the 3 public service projects which were funded. On that spreadsheet, there's a project description. There's other funding sources that these organizations are using towards their project, and the funding recommendation when we use $250,000 as our CDBG estimated amount. So I'll just leave that up there for a second, and if there's any questions regarding this slide. And I can jump back and forth as y'all do discussion as well. Just let me know. Okay. All right. Now getting into the allocation. Anything that I put before the committee can be discussed, modified, changed. I did public service allocation adjustment. This is how I came to these numbers. Pretty simple. I just took the percentage of the total amount, which was 40% Meals to Wheels, 33% People Who Care, 27% New Horizons. That was I hope I'm explaining that right. Anyway, I used that same percentage that we used for the new funding amount. So that's what it came out to.
So, Michael, for that public service, what are the dollars amount that we ended up breaking into?
So, right, Madam Chair, was that the question was the total amount for the new total amount for public service?
We had extra money. We divided that between construction and public service, so I'm trying to get the dollar amount between the two.
Okay, let's see, Madam Chair, the previous amount on this slide for public services, we had $37,500 that we used at March 20th for public service. The new amount, it went up, a little bit over $3,000 to that top line funding at $40,437.60. That represents the 15% cap of our new allocation amount.
So in reality, we have $3,000 to divide.
That's correct.
Thank you. So with that being said, and Michael and I talked a little bit before the meeting as to how to take that money and divide accordingly. He went with the percent, and that's what each one then increased, and it'll be the same for construction.
I didn't. Constructions will be different, Madam Chair. A little bit more discussion regarding that because I did not do a percentage. Public service seemed to be pretty easy, unless if anybody wants to discuss and change it, so y'all can do that. But construction will need a bit more.
We'll get
discussion.
to construction when we get to it. So let's do our public service. With looking at this, Are there any questions as to how we took that extra money and sort of divvied it up? Well, I'm impressed.
Well, we got construction next, so there'll be.
And I know we're not at, but I'm impressed this went as well as it has. It wasn't a lot, but it was accordingly, so it's pretty easy to do.
Yes, it was.
Okay, so is this a motion? Is this, how do you want to do it?
Let's do like what we did in March 20th was two separate motions, one for public service and one for construction. I think get this one behind us.
So we'll get the construction next and then make that motion.
You could make the motion now, or wait for public service specifically now, or wait until after construction. George, your thoughts?
George?
George Worley, I'm the planning manager. Sorry, I just like talking from the audience. It's probably cleaner if you make a motion on this one and then move on to the construction. It'll be easier in the minutes for future readers, if there are any.
Well, and since we're here and since we've looked at it, then I'm looking for a motion to accept these amounts, these percent, to these three different public service projects.
Madam Chair,
Please.
I move that we proceed with the funding as recommended.
The motion has been made by John. Do I have a second?
Ginger Cutting, second.
Second's been made. Let's all vote. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand or say, well, it can't see us anyway. Say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, public service is taken care of.
It passes 6-0. Okay, next up is construction. So construction allocation adjustment, we have, after doing the public service, we have $12,729.60 to apply to our 4 construction projects. What I put up on the spreadsheet was what they initially requested. And then the last column there is funding at the March 20th CAC meeting, and leaving it up to discussion at this point, what the committee would like to do with this extra amount.
Madam Chair, may I say something? So looking at this, I mean, we exceeded the minor home repair program, which is a fabulous program, and we met the CCJ request. We just about met the adult center. $2,500 would finish that so they could complete that job, and Polaire Health has been short a little bit. So if there's $12,729.60, I could see where we would fulfill the adult center and perhaps finish off, well, or not finish off, but get close to Polaire Health.
Okay, that's an option. As you look at that, what else do you see?
Madam Chair, Jim Howell. Well, I'm very supportive of making it 100% funding for the adult center, kicking that up another $2,500. But I have a question. By changing these allocations, is that going to anything other than mess up Mike's spreadsheet? Is there any reason why not?
Mike?
Yes, Madam Chair, there in the committee, there is none of these projects have started. You know, once they haven't even been awarded officially until it goes to council on June 25th. So, by changing these numbers, there is no effect to the applicant at this point.
Okay, some more discussion. I do have a question on this. We're really close with funding all of the except and I'm back up with Ginger with your Polara Health. As long as I've done this, and it's been a long time, I still want a little bit more discussion as to what are some of the options, whether we're going to fill Polara, whether we're going to go 1% with the rest. How about from you, Mike? What do you think? Because I think the board members are sort of waiting to see where we start.
Right. I would bring this to the committee. Since there are new committee members here, the existing members discuss, some of the reasoning behind funding the projects as they did. And Polara Health would probably be a good one to focus on. There are a bunch of different options. You could continue to fund the minor home repair program more, or let's see. I wouldn't go. The minor home repair program is probably the only one that would work by funding above and beyond. The other ones we stick to what they requested in their application. So we can't go above and beyond on any of those.
Hi, Madam Chair, I have another question.
Ginger.
So, and looking at the adult center, because I went back today and I was telling Michael this, I went back and I watched the applicants on the February meeting, and the adult center, I think this need is very real, that they fulfill this and have the storage. I think that they have a great program there. They're opening it up to not only, they do a lot with the elderly group in the community, a lot with the folks that need that type of assistance, but they're also leaning towards the families, and they have a lot of need for storage because they have toys brought in and dropped off, and they need a facility for that. And I know that 42.5 is a fabulous funding gift. I would just like to see that completed, since that is a.
For the new people and to remind the existing board members, I will not be voting on that adult center because I serve on that board. So I'm going to pull myself out, finish the discussion with who is here. I certainly want to come back, and I do want to talk about Polara, and I do want to talk about the home repair, but let's see what everybody feels about the adult center. And with that, I'm going to turn that discussion over to you.
Okay, you're recusing yourself, is that? Okay. Madam Chair recuses. Okay. Deborah Savoini.
I
Sorry.
do have a question. In the past, when we've had an overage, we've just done a percentage and given everybody that percentage, which seemed to be a very fair way to address that, rather than trying to give somebody more or less after we've already made a decision.
Madam Chair, a question, this is to Michael, so I understood you just a moment ago saying that we couldn't overfund?
Right, for the projects of CCJ and Polara Health, CCJ is already maxed out. So you have the adult center up to 45,000, Polara Health up to 20,000, but minor home repair program, we do have room, because it's a bit of an internal program with the Chamber of Commerce Foundation.
And if I could,
George Worley.
just a little bit of extra information related to that. They get quotes for their project, bids for their project, and that's what the request is based on. So funding them over what the bid was is not something we can do under the CDBG program. So they have a bid for $50,000 for CCJ. $50,000 is the most that we would be able to fund. For variable programs like the minor home repair, where we don't have individual bids yet, that happens as applicants come in with their small projects, you can increase that funding. And as far as the adult center, with the funding being slightly below the maximum amount, you could fund up to that maximum amount. So you've got 3 of them that potentially could get an additional allocation of funding minus CCJ because they're at the amount they requested. Make sense?
John Paris.
Michael, I was not on the committee back then, but I attended the meeting, and there was, and I forgot there was a lot of discussion on Polera Health and some hesitation on the funding allocation for it. Can you remind me a little bit? Part of it, if I remember right, was because it's a private business more than anything else.
It is a non-for-profit. Polera Health is. I would say I'm going to defer to the committee members that were there and made the vote on why the discussion around Polera Health specifically for Mr. Paris.
Was it because they have so much additional funding coming from other? I think that's the reason that I recall.
I believe you're correct, yes.
So not just from us, but from a lot of other people, and they have to disclose that.
Madam Chair, I have another question. Are we not allowed to go outside for other construction projects that were initially requested besides these 4, since we have an overage?
So with the construction allocation these were actually the 4 projects we funded that turned in applicants. So this is it. But we wouldn't. In this case, we would not. With the adjustment, the committee made their recommendations of which projects they wanted to fund, and it's going to stick with those projects.
Madam Chair, I'll tell you, I visit the Adult Center at least 3 times a week. I'm not a board member like yourself, but I'm a believer. I think it's a worthy cause. And I was told, I asked around a little bit in between my yoga classes, and it's also to be used for storage. They're moving tables and chairs, and they're leaving them out in the snow and the weather. And the first meeting that I attended, just hearing the dialogue that, well, they can buy a Connex box, but you just cut back on the concrete. You can't cut back on the concrete. It costs what it costs. And it just, I'll tell you, I think that's an absolute use, but and I don't know much about Polera Health, but, parking lot maintenance isn't very sexy. To me, that's part of the building maintenance and like flushing the plumbing out. But right now, I'd be willing to make a motion that we increase the allocation for the Adult Center by $2,500.
I would second that motion.
I would hold off until y'all come to a final on what y'all. So what I'm hearing is the 2,500. That is something that you would like to do, but I would conclude your discussion on the rest of it before you make that final motion. That'll make it a lot more cleaner.
Madam Chair, if we looked at this, and I know that minor home repair program is fantastic for this community because there's a lot of people who just can't afford to make those modifications. And if we looked at this and now understanding a little bit more about the private entity for the Polera Health, if we modified this and increased the adult center, the allocation to $45,000, and then put the balance in the minor home repair program.
I'm going to ask, when can we get a little preview for the newer members on the minor home repair program? Because some of this money could fund into that.
Well, we actually have Miss Sherry Heine from the Prescott Chamber of Commerce Foundation here. If you'd like to bring her up and ask her any questions, we are planning on doing a very detailed presentation about minor home repair program, maybe in June or July. But she's a regular at our committee member, so please feel free to. I think it's okay with Miss Heine.
And if we could, Sherry, could you come up and just give a quick 101 to all of us again, exactly what that minor home repair program is?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. Sherry Heine, President and CEO of the Prescott Chamber of Commerce and Foundation. And I just would like to welcome the new committee members as well. The minor home repair program, this is our going into our third phase of the project. I think we've been doing this for 2 years now, the minor home repair program. It's a partnership between the foundation and the city of Prescott. And what we do is we allocate up to $5,000 to help minor home repair for those in a certain bracket and or disability to make it so their homes are livable. We have a great track record, and I will share with you that most of the contractors that we work with also will cut their cost in half just so that we can provide the services that are needed. In the past, many of our projects have included things like providing hot water when they did not have any, providing water for one of the jobs that we did, providing heat for 2 of the jobs that we had. So, and then also building handicap ramps and making bathrooms accessible as well. So our grants are at $5,000 each. And so I would say that the $60,000 is wonderful. The $5,000 extra, it gives us one more job to be able to do. And but you know, in a nutshell, it's a great program for our community, and it's only for our residents. So that's kind of the high, the high-end presentation on that.
Madam Chair, I have a question. Sherry, how many applicants do you have at this time that you have not fulfilled?
So we're in the middle of phase 2. So we are calling out for the allocation that we received last year, which was 14,000. So we have a large list.
And so this additional, basically 10,200 and some odd would make a big difference. It would provide 2 additional jobs.
Correct. Yes. Thank you.
So with that being said, I think if you go into your increments of 5,000 as to what it would do, your choice of maybe looking again at Polara Health, I can't be part of that vote on the adult center, so there will be 2 different votes from here. Sherry, anything else you could add?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just thank the city and all of you for the partnership, because I know it's made a big difference in regards to what we've done. So, it's just helping folks out that are in great need.
Questions? No. We're good? We're good.
Thank you.
So we've covered all of these, Michael.
Yes.
I'd like sure we some type of dollar amount as we begin to vote. I would appreciate you taking over for the adult center vote.
Right, and I have Madam Chair, I have the calculator out, so I'm going to help with as the motions are made with these dollar amounts. So what I'm hearing is 2,500 towards the adult center. It'll be its own motion. Once that motion is concluded, the Madam Chair will resume her position back with the committee to vote on the rest of the allocation. The rest of the allocation would bring that minor home repair program from $65,000 to $75,229.60. I can write out that number for whoever makes the motion on that item.
Madam Chair, we had a motion and a second regarding that very subject that we increased 2,500 initially.
We did, and we did not pull it. We went into a discussion from that, so that dollar amount stayed the same.
Yeah, if y'all want to just redo that motion real quick, and we'll vote on that one, and then we'll vote on the second one. The first,
Okay, again, that motion was to increase the adult center allocation by $2,500 to a total of $45,000.
And Ginger Cutting seconds it.
okay. And bringing a vote to the committee, we'll just go down the line. Ginger Cutting, Jim Howe, Janie Evans, Deborah Savoini, and John Paris.
Yes.
Okay. So 5-0 with one recused and one absent.
Okay, the adult center is taken care of, correct?
That is correct.
So I'm going to come back down and ask, was there amount to Polare Health?
Who would like to make the motion? I got
My question, Michael, is we're looking at another 10 for the minor home repair, but what is left from that?
Let me just
So, Madam Chair, I am going to make a motion that I move to allot the additional $10,229.60 to the minor home repair program.
And Madam Chair, Jim Howell would like to second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Do we vote on that by itself, or can we move on to another?
go ahead and vote on that now, and that'll be good.
So with that motion, first and second, I would like a raise of hands of everyone who is voting, and it looks like that's unanimous. So that takes care of our minor home repair. Next motion.
That is it. You've expended all the money that was extra. It's been allocated to the adult center to bring it to $45,000. CCJ remains the same at $50,000 per the March 20th CAC meeting funding recommendation. Polare Health remains the same at $5,000 per the March 20th CAC meeting. And the minor home repair program is now funded at $75,229.60. So the allocation has been spent, Madam Chair.
All right, so that's taken care of. Moving down, it looks like a presentation, discussion, public comment. Is that where we're going, Mike?
Yes, Madam Chair. The next item on our agenda is talking about our annual action plan. It is a draft. This draft has been emailed to everybody in the committee. It's also in your agenda packet. Short presentation on what the annual action plan is. It's really our application that goes to HUD. That tells HUD how we're going to use our monies, our CDBG estimated allocations. So part of that process is, what has been voted on in this committee. The next step now goes to City Council to vote. That vote, I have it on the agenda for June 25th. So today is the first day of a 30-day public comment period, and It'll be, this draft that you have will be available through the community development department at their front desks. I also drop it off at the library to be reviewed by the public. But really, it's on our website is where, we'd probably get most of the comments. Haven't received any comments in the past or in a while, I guess, regarding the annual action plan. But let me see, what else can I say about it? I'll be updating it. I have to update this draft right after this to put in the new numbers. And there's other parts of this that I've set aside that I need to update with some demographic numbers and whatnot. During this 30-day period, if you see anything in the draft that you want, you feel needs to be updated or changed, you can email me and I can make those adjustments. So we don't have to figure it all out right now, but this is an opportunity to ask any questions about the process as well.
Madam Chair, can I ask a clarification question?
Please.
From Michael? So I see that this action plan is part of the final year of the 5-year plan. When is the next 5-year plan to be worked on?
Good question. So the question was, you have a yearly annual action plans that we submit to HUD. On top of that is our 5-year plans. And this is the final year of of a 5-year plan. They call it a consolidated plan. So we will be, the annual action plan for next year and the consolidated plan all happen at the same time. So next year is going to be pretty busy. Start working on it in August. There's a lot of things that need to be done in regards to public comment and public feedback that needs to be recorded. So August, I'm working on it, bringing it to committees, and as we do the annual action plan for next year, it'll be along with the consolidated plan as well. So it's going to be a busy year, I think.
Madam Chair, I have a question. Typically, what are the public comments, if any? And typically, do we have any of the recipients of these funds come in and give a review of what they've received?
So the first question, public comments. I, only been here a little bit over a year. I've not seen any public comments. I've not received any public comments. The most I get from public. From the public that reach out to me, to my department, is in regards to the minor home repair program. So they'll probably see something in regards to the minor home repair program and call the city about it. So I haven't seen any public comment. Have you ever seen public comments, Mr. George Worley?
Rarely do we get a lot of public comment on this. It's normally people with questions who will contact. In this case, they'll contact the city and they'll ask, what does this mean? Why is this advertised? It is a requirement of HUD, so we have to do the public comment period, even if we normally don't get much public comment about it. We've had a few people in the past who just didn't like the idea of accepting federal money. That's one of the comments that we've had in the past. Most of the comments have been more of questions rather than comments, and they're the types of things that Michael would get. What does it mean? Will this program allow me to apply for it? That type of thing.
Because it's HUD, we have to make these steps in order to continue to do the funding. We don't jump anything. And whether we get a comment or not, we're required to have all of that in line.
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. There was a second question that you had.
Madam Chair, the question is, the recipients of some of these assistance, I think bringing it to the public attention, if we had some of the recipients that maybe did receive water, hot water, or received a, accessibility type of access, or even the adult center coming in and saying the storage was wonderful, it allowed us to increase, kind of a recap and making that part of the publication so that the public understands a little bit more of what all this does.
I think that is that's great. That's a really good idea that we continue to strive to get better at because we need work there. But I definitely think it would be something that would really help this program. We do something that is HUD mandated through what they call it the CAPER, which is our end of year report that's presented to council. But it's to council. There's not much of an opportunity for some of these subrecipients. But especially bringing some of these. Some of the folks that receive this money and do some really great things, being able to present that to council is something I think really helps this program. I think so.
Ginger, I would like to suggest if you could set an appointment with Michael, put in some ideas that you might have, because we tend to follow that same old path, and it's hard to get that information out. The city does their part. It gets in the paper. There's all kinds of stuff, but you might come up with something with him that we could take a different avenue. I would appreciate it, and I think the board would too. Mm-hmm. So if you could cut that time out, then we're both of you and not take either one of you very long. We said, what about this? What about this? Mm-hmm. Pull Sherry in if you need to. Have him maybe sit with George or something. It's always that extra set of eyes. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I think Sherry Heine wanted to be recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. I do believe it's great that we do present. I'm not sure if through the HUD, we'd have to evaluate if we could let the folks that receive the service because of the certain criteria that we have to follow. So in our reports that we've come to the committee with, we've always shared the project, but we don't ever share the names and things like that. So I just want to make sure that I don't want to put ourselves in a position like that, but we'll happily share the projects.
And Sherry, you've made that before. We're never going to put anybody in that crosshair. That was part of it because, again, of what we do. But it could be an example or plan A or some kind of deal.
We've done pictures before and after. So I think those are great ways. And we do. I come to the meetings quite regularly for that. But thank you. I just wanted to make sure I had good direction on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.
Madam Chair, and thank you for that clarification. And you're exactly right. I would not want to bring somebody's personal information, but stories speak volumes. And when I went back into the videos and I was listening to you present to the group in March, that it pulled on my heartstrings. And I know, and I sell real estate, so I'm out there. I see these homes, and I see some of these older people that have very difficult time. And sometimes it's just a matter of they don't realize that they are missing the hot water. So stories even, and I think that that's a great idea that we, maybe Michael, if we can schedule
Absolutely.
a time and then we could create some. Thank you.
Okay.
So discussion, we've got your annual action plan. How about some updates?
Okay. Again, with the annual action plan, as you review it over the next, few weeks, anything jumps out, anything you feel that needs to be corrected, added, just email me and I'll make the necessary adjustments before we take it to council. Okay. Timeline. Did this slide last time, but just wanted to throw it back up there. What we're looking at again, June 25th will be in front of council. Anybody that we'll have a CAC meeting before that. I believe the middle of June 17th, I think it is. June 19th. Of June 19th is our next CAC meeting, so that'll be before the council meeting. Anybody that can make the council meeting is much appreciated. You know, we will get questions regarding the program. Again, it's always good to have representation from the committee there. Okay. We go into June and in August, or really in July, I'll be working on that end of year accomplishment report that also goes to council. The money comes in from HUD around September, October timeframe, and then November, we're starting the year over again with our needs workshop, and then application workshop in December. Okay.
Could you send that to us, email it?
Yes, Madam Chair, I will. Okay. And then that leaves us to our staff announcements. And what I was going to do for staff announcements today was really bring in Ms. Sherry Heine, but that's already kind of happened. Again, we're going to get together and Sherry Heine and myself and bring a more formal presentation about the minor home program to the committee. It's share what we're doing and who we're helping. So again, it's a fantastic program, and it's really taken off here under really Sherry's guidance, which is great. So. Besides that, CAC meeting scheduled for June is a go. If anything, it'll be discussing any changes we made to the draft before it goes to council. I think that's about it. Any questions for me at this time?
No? I think this has been pretty easy.
Yeah.
Took care of business. We'll be back here on the 19th at 1:30. And if something happens before then, we'll hear from you.
Yes.
I appreciate each and every one of you attending these. We try to keep them as quick and as close as we can. And so we'll see you all again in June. I need a motion to adjourn. Come on.
Chair, John Paris, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
A second.
Cheney Evans seconds that motion.
And meeting is adjourned, and I've got 2:17, Mike.
All right. 47 minutes.